Hey everyone, it's Don again, Captain Cross-Stitch here, coming to you this final day of September 30th, in case you didn't know. So today's video is maybe going to be all over the place. September has been a tumultuous month. Maybe not so much for me, but for the world at large. I don't really know in what order I should really do things, because there are some topics that I want to discuss, but I'm going to save the non-stitchy related things to the end, because I may have some viewers that don't want to hear about what I want to talk about. But anyway, so my finger is still messed up, although it's showing some minor signs of improvement. I didn't do much stitching, but I was able to start using the finger to stitch again, which is great because it gives me a little better control of holding the needle and that kind of manipulation. So maybe I'm on the way to recovery. I'm not really 100% sure. I just came from therapy just a little while ago, so anyway, so I didn't get much stitching done in the month of September, but the few things that I did work on are important, and we'll get to those at some point. Oh, and my other health news, good news, is I had my first follow-up with my endocrinologist since I had the leg surgery and all that mess that went on back in May and June, July. My A1C is down to 6.2, which is incredible. And really it was just a change in my diet that made that possible. So hopefully I can maintain that or improve it. I don't know how low an A1C can go before it's considered not good, but if at all. But I'd like to keep it under 7 if possible. All right, enough of that stuff. So I hope you all, now that we're in the fall, I hope you all had a good summer. I can't really say that mine was all that great considering what I had to go through with my leg, but I did have a good August, even though I lost my job in July and I'm still looking for work. I'm still unemployed at this point. I did have my second interview for a job last week, but I haven't heard back from them yet, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But the initial interview I think went well, so cross my fingers. I really hope I got it, because it would be a good job for me, I think. Okay. So I'm just going to go through my pile here, and stuff is in no particular order. I may show you a whip, then some haul, then go back to another whip, and then whatever. I don't really. It was kind of a chaotic month, so Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you, I mentioned this last month. So I have the Queen City Stitch Retreat coming up in a couple weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow, in fact. Yeah, 2 weeks from tomorrow. No, I take it back. 2 weeks from Thursday, so the day after tomorrow. But anyway, so I had shown you the design of my own making that I was going to stitch for my Smalls Exchange for the retreat. And I had shown you what I had done up to that point, but I hadn't finished it. But now it's finished, and here's what it looks like. So, got my fish finished, and you can see his little smiley face. And I got the Queen City Stitch Retreat initials, and then the date of the retreat, the month of the year. And then my initials down here. So this is on a small box, which is going to have some stitchy trinkets in there. There's a fancy floss, a regular DMC floss, there's a needle minder, and a business card, identifier telling the person that ends up with my my small exchange, who it's got my information on it, so they can hopefully enjoy it and come thank me for doing this. And then there's also a treat in there, something that's considered a local treat to my state and the region. So hopefully they'll enjoy it. I won't show you what it is because I don't want to spoil it in case the person who ends up getting it might be watching. I want it to be a surprise. But anyway, that's that. Okay, so during the last week, I did manage to stitch a little bit on something. This is one I enjoy working on because I like the design, and I've shown it before. I don't have a photograph or anything of what the finished product looks like. So I'm not really going to show you the design. I guess I should have pulled that out, but this is so the design is called Palestinian Tiles, and this is not any kind of political statement. I just don't have anything to say about what goes on in the Middle East. I really don't care. I mean, it's sad what's going on, but it's none of my business, and that's all I had to say about it. But anyway, that's what it's called, and it's based on some of their cultural design elements. It was from an issue of World Across Stitch magazine from 2023, I think. But it's a pretty design, that's why I'm stitching it. But since the last you saw me with this, I've done a bunch of this and some of the black border, and I started over into this section here. So there's one more row of designs here, and then I start working my way across this way. And it goes down a little bit more, but not a whole lot more. So yeah, that's and that's being stitched on a piece of 14 count opalescent Ada from I think it's either Charles Craft or something like that. Something I bought from Joann's when we still had a Joann's. I hope you all had a great summer, better than me. Okay. I don't know if I should turn this light on. Is this nighttime? I'm filming at night. Yeah, it's too bright. All right. So a while back there was a cross stitch pattern that I bought, which at that point in time when I bought it, I didn't know these existed. So some of you, you'll recognize these when you see it. So Dimensions back in the mid to late 90s put out a series, and there's quite a few of them I've come to discover. The Dimensions put out a series of things called Charts and Charms, and that's exactly what it was. It wasn't a full kit. It was just a chart for a design, and then these little metal charms that you can sew onto your finished design. I had bought one. I forget the name of it. It was, but it was this sorcerer. I think it was called Midnight Enchanter, I think, something like that. But anyway, at the time I bought it, I didn't, and I got it, reasonably cheap. At the time I bought it, I didn't know there was a companion chart and charm to it called Alluring Sorceress. So as soon as I found out about it, I was like, oh, I got to get that. Well, apparently the Sorceress one is more expensive to come by. Not really any more rarer or harder to get. There's plenty of them on eBay, but they're asking for quite a bit of money for them. So, I'd say average cost that I saw going on eBay was anywhere between $75 and $100 plus bucks, and I was like, well, I'm not spending that kind of money. So anyway, I had recently, one day out of boredom, said, oh, let me check, see if there's any of these on there for a reasonable price. Well, there really was not. They were still in the, $75 to $90 something range. So I was like, I wonder if people were expecting this money and expecting that somebody would pay that price, but are they getting any nibbles? So they had an option on there where you like make an offer. So I said, well, what's the most I would pay for this? So it was, certainly much less than what they were asking for. So I put in my maximum, the most I would pay for it as an offer, and I'm not going to tell you how much that was, but almost immediately I got an email saying accepted. I wasn't expecting that. So I got it for. Granted, I still paid more than I really wanted to, but I did pay the maximum I thought was reasonable. So, but anyway, so here it is. I got my alluring sorceress. So, and I think part of the reason why some of these are going for quite a bit is, I won't say all of them, but a majority of these charms and charts were all designed by the same guy. His name was James Hemsworth. I don't know anything about him or who he is, other than he's a cross-stitch designer, but I don't know if it's based off of his artwork. I mean, maybe he's an artist and maybe that's what he's known for, and that's why his name is prominently displayed on the front. But I did notice several of the other chart designs were all done by him as well. So, you know, I guess I could do some more of a deep dive on these to see who he is and, you know, what his story is. You know, maybe he's famous for something. Okay, so another thing, let me grab a drink real quick. Today's episode, once again brought to you, the makers of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar Baja Blast Tropical Lime. Very tasty. Unofficial sponsor, by the way. Okay. So the other thing that I did during the month of September, the weekend of the 19th and 20th, was the Harvest Moon Hangout, sponsored by or put on by Lindy Stitches, Stephanie Webb and crew. This was my second Lindy Stitches virtual event this year, and won't be my last. I plan on attending the Jingle Ball this coming December. That is December 5th through the 7th. I'm not sure when tickets go on sale for that. I don't think they have yet, but maybe they did. I'm not sure. I need to check on that. But that's the one that kind of put them on the map, so to speak, the Jingle Ball, and then they've kind of spread out into other events throughout the year, which are, I think, smaller in scale and scope. But anyway, so I attended that. As far as I felt like maybe it wasn't quite as good as the Midsummer Stitch. The jury, I think, in my mind is still out on whether I enjoyed that the same or not. I need to go back and watch some of the, because for some reason, I don't know, maybe it was because I was watching football, and maybe I don't think I missed anything, and but I don't remember there being, but I think they had more than one designer, but I only watched one of the things with the lady from Lola Crow, who was fabulous. I loved her, sit down with her. That was really informative very lovely girl. But so yeah, the one thing I will comment on though, I feel like I don't know, I didn't have the same feeling about their shopping haul this time around. I felt like they had less stuff than before. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. I really don't know, but I felt like the whole event kind of paled in comparison. Not that it was bad or anything. It didn't seem to be at the same level. But maybe it's just me. So don't hate me too bad. I'm not trying to badmouth them at all, because I love Stephanie and their company and the fact that they do all this stuff all year long. It's great. Maybe I was just in a bad mood or something. I don't know, or distracted or something. Not that I didn't buy a few things. They had a really cute needle miner I really wanted, but they were sold out. I'm hoping they get it back in stock. There's a little cat. I think it was a little black cat. It was cute. Not that I'm a cat person, but this needle miner was super adorable, and that was like a knee-jerk thing. Like, I gotta have that. And then I put it in my cart and then I went to check out. It was not there. Sold out. I was just disappointed. But unlike the Midsummer Stitch, I was able to get a piece of fabric this time, because the last time the one piece that I wanted was sold out like really quick. So what I ended up getting it's from Fiberlicious, and it's called Sepia Sorcery. So yeah, it's a nice solid purple. I mean, not solid, but it's a nice deep, not dark, but deeply saturated, I guess is the best way to put it. Purple with some, pinkish and dark purple modeling to it. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that was a good purchase, and Fiberlicious is a good company. I have, I think, one or two other pieces of theirs, which the fabric is really beautiful. So some other things that I bought from their shop was from one of my new favorite designers, Sprouting Lupine. This is called Here There Be Dragons. So it's kind of a nod to, fantasy map making. It's got some sea monsters, and I think that's supposed to be a dragon there. Yeah, it looks like a dragon. So yeah, it's kind of, I mean, you got I didn't notice this before, but she's got some role-playing dice in and around the design there. You'll see down there's a 12-sided die there, and there's some D&D dice all around. And that's what I'm going to do it for. I'm going to make this and hang it up in my gaming space here in the basement for if and whenever I should ever hold a D&D game in my house again, which may not be ever, but I'm hopeful. And one print Lola Crow design that because I bought two, but one was a PDF, which I don't have to show you at this time. But this is a Lola Crow Acorns and Friends. This was too adorable to not buy. So you can see all the little animals with their little fall Halloween, I guess. Yeah, I mean they're hanging these little ornaments from the tree for you know, acorns and mushrooms, and the raccoon's got a little trash can ornament, so I thought it was cute. And the skunk is stitching. He's got a needle in his mouth, needle and thread in his mouth. That's just really cute. Alright, then this is, when I saw this, I fell in love with this design. I don't like the fabric choice on the model that they have stitched up here. I would have went with something a bit lighter, maybe like a lime green instead of the darker like pine green, I guess, or something with a little teal to it maybe. But so this is by Jessica Duzois. I don't know how you pronounce her last name, but it's Jed X Stitch. And it's called Blueberry J. It's hard to see with all that glare. I'm gonna take it out of the bag. So. There we go. That's better. I think it's gorgeous design. I kind of like the mixed elements of you know, some geometric kind of line work and shapes mixed in with the nature elements. I think that's just, it's well balanced. She was also somebody that was new to me. Between her and the other one I showed you, what was that? Sprouting Lupine. I saw both of them for the first time during the Midsummer Stitch. So I think it's great that she can get those one-on-ones with the designers from these companies in her programs. And then recently I kind of tripped over this and found it when I was looking at something online. It's a book of 200 Japanese cross-stitch designs. So it's basically just patterns. I guess it's motifs or whatever that are in patterns that are in Japanese culture. I guess they're, traditional, geometric, and retro floral patterns from, I guess, Japanese culture. So, but the reason I picked this up was I've been playing around with an idea of something, and I think I could use some of these to help kind of finish off some design ideas that I've been toying around with in my brain. So if it works out, you may see something come out for me in the year ahead. Probably not this year, but maybe next year. Which reminds me, so this is episode 23. So that means next month will be my 2-year anniversary on Floss Tube. So I'm going to have to make some kind of grandiose plans for that, I think, which may or may not happen. I don't know. I haven't really given it any thought, to be honest. But with my impending trip to Charlotte in a couple weeks, after meeting Nora Corbett and all that, and having that experience down there with Queen City Stitch Retreat and all the lovely ladies that will be attending, I'm hoping to make a bunch of new friends and meet some people in person that I know via, the interwebs, but I've never met in person, so I'm excited about that prospect. But yeah, been doing this for almost 2 years now, and sadly I don't have the viewership that I kind of thought would naturally occur. Not that I'm trying to do anything to necessarily encourage it, but I have I have literally no growth at all. I mean, it seems like every once in a while, for whatever reason, I'll get, 4 or 5 new people, and then I'll reach a new height with that, but then it drops back off. I'll lose just, half as many people. So it's like 4 steps forward, 2 steps back. Excuse me. But anyway, I do this because I like it, and I like to be engaged with other people, but sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself. Alright, so this next one is a new pattern, but I already have it kitted up, except for the fabric, which I'm sure I have something in the next room for it. I just haven't bothered to pull it out yet. So this is one of the patterns I'm taking with me to Queen City. Sorry. But this is a Nora Corbett design, and it's called Scorpio. It's a very simple, small, elegant design, but it's beautifully done. And it's also this is my astrological sign, Scorpio. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the same, it's also Nora's astrological sign. And her birthday is the day after me, in November. So I'm gonna get her to autograph this and maybe write a little something after I get to talk to her. But I'm gonna start this while I'm there. Yeah, it's a beautiful design. Sorry, folks. Didn't mean to yawn in your face, but here you can see the colors associated with that. So a lot of pinks and purples and some browns. Nothing a whole lot crazy going on there. Okay, now the bulk of the haul. This pack of stuff is stuff I was hoping to have had last month when I had my video, because I had ordered it, but it didn't show up until the day after I had already posted my video. So now I kind of doubled up this month as far as the stuff I ordered. So, but anyway, so starting off with so this is from the Birdie and Berries collection by Charlie Emblem, and this is the Indigo Bunting. And then in the Cottage Garden Samplings Snowman Collector series, this is number 8, The Farmer. I think this will be a really fun series to do. I'm not sure what I'll do with them if I do stitch them, but okay. And then finishing out one of their previous series, the same company, their Fabulous House series. This is number 13 out of 12. This is the special edition Fabulous House. This is called the Tudor Style House. Simple, but cute. Okay, and then continuing on the quest to own all the Bella Filipinas. I have a few more here. There's this is number 27, Sol Tropica. So another mermaid. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. And then number 29, The Maiden of Tubadada. Another mermaid. That one's gorgeous, huh? Lots of blue in that one. And then this next one, not a mermaid, is Maria McKilling. Hard to see. I think it's supposed to be a fairy, perhaps. I'm not sure. But what I plan to do at some point in time, when I have completed my collection of these, I'm going to do a dedicated episode with a walkthrough of all these, and I will have information on each one as to, if they're inspired, what they're inspired by, if anything, that kind of information. So who knows? Maybe I can contact the designer and maybe get him to let me pick his brain about stuff. And this is from Bygone. Stitching Pretty, I think, is the company. Yeah, Stitching Pretty. And this is Remembering Bygone Stitches Autumn Quaker series. So kind of, I mean, it's a terrible picture, quite frankly. I think I would definitely have to change up some of the colors on that because that's a little drab. And then last but not least, in this pack, from Joan Elliott, this is the Fire Goddess. So that's a lot of the same color on there. I don't know if I would have the nerve to actually change up some of this color-wise. Not sure. Don't know. But yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right now, if you are in the need of some Joan Elliott designs, I think 1-2-3 Stitch has most, if not all of them, on sale right now. So, because they have a sale like every week, but if you're a Joan Elliott fan like me, they have them on sale. Okay, this pack is from a couple weeks ago. All right, so more Bella Filipina. This is number 32, Temptress of the Cursed Sea. Another mermaid, a dark mermaid, because she's a temptress. She's gonna tempt you. Number 33, Aria, the Elemental Queen of Air. Number 34, another mermaid called the Crystal Mermaid Aquabella. And then number 35, the Hummingbird Pixie. This is cute. Like little sprite. Pixie sprite. And then number 9 in the Cottage Garden Samplings Snowman series, the Pirate. This is really cool. I can't wait to do that one. I think it's funny. She put a peg leg on the snowball, on the snowman, the ball of snow. I think it's funny. She even got a belt. That's really cool. There's even a little snowman on the bow of that ship. And from Blueberry Ridge, this is Hazel's Blackberry Burrow. So that's a little mouse's house. That was cute, very cute. And there's a companion to this, which I've ordered and should be getting sometime later this week. Then also another one from Jetic Stitch. This is called Aviary. That's, again, you know, it's like kind of, you know, angular geometric elements, butted up against nature elements. I think that's a cool combination of, you know, things to do. It's like nature and machines together, you know. And then another Joan Elliott. This one is super cool because it's got it could be a dragon. It might very well. Well, it is a dragon. That's because that's the name of the design. It's called the Dragon and the Fairy. But I was going to say it would look like something else, but the colors on that are super good. Love that. So that's all of my 1, 2, 3 stitch haul for the moment. Okay, so last video, actually 2 videos ago, I had a giveaway for the Egyptian sampler from Teresa Wensler, and I had a winner. I drew a winner on my last video. She went by the YouTube name Ms. Bobbin Lacer. She didn't message me at all to get information, so I'm going to give it 1 more month. And so if you had replied and your handle was Ms. Bobbin Lacer, message me, and you can do it on this video. And I'll give you an email address in answer to your message to where you can send your information to me so I can mail this out to you. Now, if I don't hear from her over the course of between now and my next video, I'm going to give it away to another person that had responded with the correct response from that video. So you got 1 more month. So speaking of giveaways, I have another one that I like to do. And this came as a something that I forgot that I had bought some years ago and found it after I had already reordered it. So now I had to. But it's from Papillon Creations. It's called Birds of a Feather. So it's a bunch of peacock designs. It's very pretty. So if that's something you'd be interested in, send me a message with the word peacock. And you guys know the drill. Don't mention the word giveaway, prize, win, any of that stuff. So supposed bots don't try or trolls or hacks or whatever you want to call them, try and get me to send them something for free. Don't use the words free, none of that mess. I'll pick a winner, and on my next video, I'll announce the winner. So you got the month of October to send me, just say the word peacock, or use it in your sentence, in your comment, or whatever. Okay, I'm at about coming up about 10 minutes to an hour long. So So I got a couple more things to show you, and then I'm going to finish with the non-stitchy stuff and a few words from my soapbox. So I just got my latest fabric of the month in the mail a couple of days ago. Which was, so from Grace Knows Fabrics, I guess this would be the August fabric of the month. I forget how it's done, but anyway. I always get it on 14 count Aida. This is called Wings of Silver. So I can tell you right now, even in person, it looks almost white. I mean, there is some, like a blue silverish tint to it. My lighting in here sucks, so it doesn't really matter what I do. It's not going to come across, but I'm sure I'll find at some point in time the project that needs that, blue silver background. Maybe something really bright. But in the same package came, okay. So these next couple of things is gonna lead me into my soapbox, because I have some important things that I want to say about recent events in the world. So as you know, on September 10th, an amazing man, father, husband, patriot, and son of God was murdered, assassinated, Charlie Kirk. I don't know if, well, I know I won't ever be the same after what happened to him. I don't know how any human couldn't be. It's certainly the signs of something that's bubbling up to the surface in our country. And it's not just about politics. It's not. It really isn't. Politics is just another layer to what's going on in the world. And other countries are having similar things. I mean, But anyway, so Grace Notes Fabrics, in honor of the man who was just an incredible human being, they, in his honor, had named and dyed a fabric in his memory. So they had you, if you made a donation to a couple of different things, it was Turning Point USA and something else, I think. And then showed them that you made a donation. They would send you a piece of the fabric that was named after him. So this is it. So it's a blue. It's a nice blue color. So I thank Corinne and John everyone involved for doing that. That was an amazing thing that you did. So yeah. So now at the time of his death, I had already been working for some time. I had been working on a project that was a patriotic theme, and then because of what happened to him, I decided that I was going to forego everything else that I might want to work on and finish it, which I did. So I finished it, and then I dedicated it to his memory. I haven't fully finished it yet, but I'm done stitching it. So here it is. So yeah, I had finished that in his honor, and it will be proudly displayed at some point once I get it framed and matted and all that good stuff. So I don't really have anything else stitchy related to talk about at this point. So if you don't want to hear me ramble on about what happened to Charlie and what I had to say about it, then you may as well sign off for now. But I will mention a couple of things about reading real quick before I do that, because I don't want to, bounce back and forth between stuff. Well, maybe I'll save that for last. I'll save it for last. So, some of you may know what Charlie was all about. And then there's a lot of you that don't know anything about him, which is fine, because I know there's a lot of people that don't follow politics or things tangent to politics. Charlie, he wasn't necessarily about politics. What he was about was getting the word out about God and being a Christian, and trying to steer people towards the side of goodness, because I feel like this should have opened the eyes of some people when this happened. And Charlie's not the first, to be targeted in these kind of things. We know the president himself was a target a couple of times last year. But the thing, and then some of you may think you know Charlie and what he was about, and you're mistaken, because that's the garbage that you've been spoon-fed through elements of the world that are trying to destroy the West. And when I say the West, I mean modern civilization. I mean, the Democratic Party has gone so far off the deep end, it's laughable. I mean, even former Democrats that have left the party and have moved, not necessarily to the right, but they were more central than anything. And you know, when violence is celebrated, when the death of a man who did nothing wrong other than to debate his beliefs, because he never tried to destroy people. He gave people on the left and people that had different viewpoints, he gave an open microphone to them to say, you know, his mind was always open. Now, his beliefs were firm. He was firm in what he believed, but he would always leave the door open to say, if you can come up with an argument verbally in a civil manner that you could somehow sway him and prove him wrong, you know, he would listen. I'm the same way. I'm firm in what I believe, but that doesn't mean my mind can't be changed. It just means you have the burden of proof is on you to show me something that is strong enough in your case to make me change my mind. That doesn't happen very often. And I don't imagine it happened very often in Charlie's case either. I'm sad that I'll never get to meet him. But I think it's so amazing that there are certain groups of people who will just flat out spew, at the very least, dislike for him without actually knowing anything about him. I mean, I don't understand how you can do that. I mean, and then they'll say, well, they'll say, well, Charlie, he's a bigot and he hates gays or trans, or he's a whatever phobe or whatever, which is all BS. If you've ever sat and watched him debate about all these subjects, he never once spews any hatred towards these groups. He never says anything bad about these groups. He just merely states that if you're an adult and you want to behave or believe in a certain way, that is your choice as an adult. He doesn't necessarily agree with you, and he'll tell you why, and you don't necessarily have to agree with him. That's your choice. And that's what is wrong with the left. They can't accept that simple agree to disagree stance. But Charlie would be the first one to agree that you have the right to believe and, for yourself and do things for yourself, because that's one of the founding things that our country was built on. And some people just don't understand that. I think if people who just knee-jerk hated him because, well, this is how he's portrayed, because they they take something he says out of context, you know, because I've seen it happen. I mean, I could say something within the context of something else, but because I said that phrase, well, they'll say, look, he said this. And I'm like, yeah, but did you bother to listen to what I said both before and after that sentence? There's it's selective. The media will chop things up to make people sound like bigots, or that they're full of hate speech, or they're dictators, or, and then of course the media, they're terrible about saying stuff, calling people Nazis and, dictators and whatever, I don't know what's wrong with people. I really don't. But I will certainly, myself, I will willingly debate to anyone about the type of man Charlie was, because I know. I watched a lot of his speeches online from beginning to end, so he was just a good man, and for the world and his family to lose him that way, it's despicable. It's disgusting. And anybody that would celebrate that is, in my view, in my opinion, they are evil. Just plain evil. It's not to say if you disagree with him, that's fine. I have no problem with people disagreeing with him, because that's civil discourse. I don't agree with the stances on topics that Charlie would talk about, homosexuality and things in the world that are just upside down, stuff that's being done to our kids. I never had any children, but I'm almost thankful that I don't, because for them to have to put up with what kids today are being force-fed, the garbage they're being force-fed, to try and make them confused and, celebrating all this bizarre crap like being trans, or, just being exposed to this stuff as children is abhorrent. It's disgusting, really. I mean, it's one thing if you're an adult and you can think for yourself and make decisions for yourself, and you still want to be an idiot, then that's your choice to be an idiot. But children, they can't make those kinds of decisions for themselves. People trying to say, oh, boys can be girls and girls can be boys, that's bullshit. I'm calling it right there, okay? A 5-year-old should never, ever be exposed to that kind of crap. And if they're, teachers and administrators and people in government and school systems or just in general are trying to push that garbage, they should be held accountable one way or another. I mean, it's sad that everywhere you turn, this stuff is being force-fed not just to kids, but to all of us. I mean, to try and normalize it. I'm sorry, but that kind of behavior is not normal. It's learned, or it's done as a conscious choice. So I don't despise anybody who believes in those things or practices those things. I treat you on your actions. What you do in your personal life is none of my business. I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own home. But I do care if you're marching it in front of my children. Not that I have any, but I'm just speaking for everyone out there. Marching this stuff in front of kids on a daily basis in every facet of everyday life. I mean, is anybody going to watch the Super Bowl halftime this year? I mean, really? Well, first of all, I don't know anything about whatever the hell Bad Bunny is, but I'm pretty sure it's garbage. From my understanding, it's just garbage. But I don't have to watch it, and that's the difference. I don't have to watch it. I can turn the TV off. And that leads to, well, somebody, people say, oh, well, you're engaging in cancel culture. Maybe some things should be canceled because it's harmful. Like I said, if you want to do this and whoever wants to engage in it, then that's their choice. But, companies, that's another thing. Some companies especially are learning the hard way that most American people, they don't want to see this garbage. Especially the so-called woke BS. Disney is choking hard on monetary losses that they've been suffering since they've been they've been doing it for decades, but it's gotten a lot harder for them since it's become so in your face with their most recent Snow White movie. That was a big flop. And their handling of the Marvel movie franchises has gone down the toilet because of some of this crap. So, it's consumer. I mean, look at what's happened with Jimmy Kimmel, Do I believe he's a bad person? Not really. I think he's a doofus, and he's not overly funny. Not that I don't think I've ever watched his show one time, but I remember him from The Man Show years ago, which, again, was lowbrow humor. I mean, but they didn't pretend to be anything but that. So, I didn't mind that they did that because they weren't trying to sell you something that it wasn't. They were being truthful to themselves. But anyway, I don't necessarily know that he should lose his job, and maybe he won't lose his job ultimately. I don't know if that's been settled yet. But certainly companies, they gotta be careful about this stuff. They can't just continue to crap all over traditional values and expect people to like it. I mean, Budweiser learned that lesson with Bud Light and their whatever the guy was that they had a problem with a couple of years ago. So, and then, so I think I've said most of what I needed to say to get this out of my system. And I hope that there will be some of you that maybe agree with me, some of you that maybe won't care about what I'm saying, and then some of you might actually get angry about what I'm saying. And but that's our rights to disagree. But keep in mind that nothing I've said isn't true. And just because someone else has values that don't align with my own doesn't mean I want to run out and shoot somebody. You notice that when the left cries about stuff that we on the conservative side are doing, their reaction is to run out and commit an act of violence. You don't see that happening the opposite way. I mean, we had to put up with Barack Obama for 8 years and Joe Biden for 4 years in between President Trump's bookends. And you didn't see us running out and burning down cities and committing acts of violence. Now, granted, I think a lot of that stuff out in public, there's protesters, a lot of those are being paid to be there. George Soros and his ilk pay for unrest because they want to divide us instead of, acting civil towards each other. Because then that gives them and their cronies the ability to, come up with something in the future that, might drive a wedge so far between us that there won't be any hope of recovery. So I'm hoping to some of my friends and or colleagues that maybe stand to the left for different reasons or support causes that are not my own, that you can still be civil towards me and, our common thread, which is cross-stitching, is something that can help bind us together as human beings. So I hope the world comes together and does it soon, because it's not looking good out there. So I'm done with that. I'm stepping off my soapbox for now. Let's hope nothing else happens. So lastly, I think last month I talked about some books. So I had finished my Billy Summers novel from Stephen King and told you about that last month. Before all this happened, I was trying to finish another book, which I had mentioned last video, the The Age of War. It's a fantasy series. This is book 3. I'm just about done. I got close to finishing it before now, but so I'll definitely within the next week or so I'll finish this up, and now I'm going to share what my next book I'm going to start. So my next book is Becoming the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar. So, I think I had talked about him before. Richard, in his previous novel, Chasing the Boogeyman, from a couple of years ago. And I knew Richard from high school. He was 1 year ahead of me, but we weren't friends. We didn't even speak as far as I can remember. But I had started seeing some talk a couple years ago about him and his book, and I was like, "Oh, is that the same guy I went to school with?" You know, I had to look it up, and it was. So I bought his book, and Chasing the Boogeyman, and read it in like a week, which is, if I could read a book in a week, that means I'm not putting it down, essentially. It was really good, and it amazed me mainly because he based the story in our hometown of Edgewood, Maryland, which is where I currently still live. I grew up here. I was born in the same county. But he mentioned, places where I grew up, where he grew up. We weren't neighbors, but we went to the same school, and, we lived in different neighborhoods in the area. But yeah, he mentions locations and buildings and even some other people that we actually both knew in high school together. So I thought that was really cool. So when he announced he was doing a sequel to it, I was like, oh, I can't wait to read that. So I'm about to start this. So I'll be reading this once I finish the other book, and then I'll probably, if I don't finish it before I go on to Queen City, I'm definitely going to be taking this with me to Queen City, and in my spare time I'll be plowing through this. So I'm sure by next video I will have finished this. I can almost guarantee it. So yeah, and this since it's called Becoming the Boogeyman, I'm assuming it's a prequel to that other story, the first book. So, but I'll find out for sure soon enough. So I'm looking forward to it. In fact, I was just at Barnes & Noble tonight, and I bought the book that him and his son wrote together called Widow's Point, which I bought an autographed copy of that. So that'll be another book of his, that I have to read down the road. So I'm looking forward to that. And Richard is, whether he knows or not, he's one of the reasons why I decided to write my own novel in 2023. Which I am currently working on a sequel to. But it's slow going because it's not my job, and I'm not getting paid to do it. So I'm just doing it at my own pace whenever I feel like it. So I do a chapter here and there. But if I do, get another novel under my belt, I'll certainly will announce that. So that's all I got for now. So not 2 hour and 25 minutes. So it could have been over at an hour, but I had to say what I had to say. So Anyway, until next month, Captain Cross Stitch signing off. Have a wonderful October, and I'll see you probably around Halloween, because that's the end of the month. So yeah, I'll see you then, and keep on stitching. Bye.